7 signs that predict how long you'll live after 70, scientifically proven. The elderly, old age. Have you ever wondered how much time you have left once you pass 70? Every year feels more precious, and the truth is, your body is already giving you subtle signals about how long you may live. Some people in their 70s still feel strong, sharp, and full of life, while others begin to slow down, facing health challenges and fatigue. The difference often lies in a few key indicators, powerful signs that can provide a glimpse into your future. In this video, we will reveal 7 scientifically proven signs that predict how long you'll live after 70. These aren't myths or guesses, they are backed by real research and medical studies on longevity. By the end of this video, you'll know exactly what to look for in your own body and lifestyle, and, more importantly, what you can do to improve your chances of living a longer, healthier life. Before we begin, please take a moment to like this video. Your support helps us continue spreading important lessons about aging. If you haven't subscribed yet, hit the subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss a new video. And if you find this information useful, leave a comment below. Now, let's get started. Sign 1. Your walking speed. There's an old saying from the blacksmiths of early America: a man is only as strong as his grip on the hammer. Strength was never just about muscle, it was about endurance, control, and the ability to shape the world around you. In the past, a firm handshake wasn't just a greeting, it was a sign of character, of resilience. Farmers, builders, and craftsmen all knew the same truth: if you lost your grip, you lost your ability to hold on, not just to tools, but to life itself. And yet, today, too many of us don't realize what's slipping away until it's already gone. I learned that lesson firsthand. My name is William, and I am 82 years old. My hands have held many things in life. A plow as a boy on my father's farm, my wife's hand on our wedding day, the soft weight of my newborn daughter. They've built fences, fixed cars, held fishing rods, and shaken hands in trust and respect. But somewhere along the way, I stopped paying attention to them. It wasn't something I noticed at first. It started with little things: struggling to turn the doorknob, taking longer to unscrew a bottle cap. I laughed it off. Just getting older, I told myself. But then, one morning, I dropped my coffee mug. It slipped right through my fingers, shattering on the floor. I bent down to clean it up, and my hands were shaking. That's when the fear crept in. A week later, my grandson, James, came to visit. He's a good boy, full of energy, always eager to show me what he's learning in school. He reached out his hand, and I shook it, or at least, I tried. His grip was stronger than mine. A 12-year-old boy had a firmer handshake than me. He didn't say anything, but I saw the flicker of surprise in his eyes. That night, I lay awake, staring at my hands in the dim light. These hands that had done so much for me, for my family, were getting weaker, and I realized something: I had stopped using them. I had let life become too easy. I no longer carried heavy bags, opened stubborn jars, or worked with my hands the way I used to. Everything was made to be convenient. But in that convenience, I had lost something vital. So, the next day, I made a decision. I went out and bought a rubber ball, the kind kids play with. I started squeezing it while watching the evening news. My fingers ached, but I kept going. I did it again the next day. And the next. Then I got a set of hand grippers. At first, I could barely close them, but every day I tried. I started carrying grocery bags instead of using the cart all the way to the car. I began turning door handles with purpose instead of hesitation. My hands remembered. A few months later, James came back. He reached out his hand again. This time, when I gripped him, I felt his fingers tighten. But I matched his strength. His face lit up. "Grandpa, your handshake feels strong again." I just nodded, but inside, I felt something I hadn't in years. Pride. Not just in my grip, but in my ability to hold on to life itself. So tell me, my friends, have you noticed your grip weakening? Have you struggled to open things that once felt easy? If so, don't ignore it. A strong grip isn't just about hands. It's about holding on to your independence, your strength, your place in this world. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Share your story with me, because the things we hold on to in life aren't just objects. They are proof that we're still here, still strong, still capable. And that, my friends, is worth holding on to. Sign 2. Your grip strength. There's an old saying among the blacksmiths of early America: A man's strength isn't measured by the weight he can lift, but by the grip that refuses to let go. In those days, a strong handshake was more than a greeting, it was a statement. It told you who was dependable, who could endure hardship, and who still had fight left in them. But what happens when that grip starts to weaken? When the hands that built homes, held loved ones, and worked the land began to tremble under the weight of time? I never thought much about my grip until I nearly lost it. My name is Edward, and I am 83 years old. I spent my life working with my hands. As a young man, I helped my father run a small repair shop. I can still remember the smell of sawdust and motor oil, the way my hands were always rough and calloused, and the satisfaction of tightening the last bolt and knowing I had fixed something that would last. My grip was strong then, not just because of the work, but because of the life I lived. But time has a way of stealing things from you. It started slow, the way these things always do. At first I noticed it in the little things, fumbling with my keys, struggling to twist the cap off a bottle, feeling my fingers slip when carrying the grocery bags in from the car. Just old age, I told myself. But deep down, I felt something else. A quiet fear. If my hands were growing weak, what else would follow? Then, one afternoon, I dropped a glass of water. It shattered against the kitchen tile, the sound ringing in my ears. My wife, Margaret, rushed in. "Are you all right?" she asked, concerned in her eyes. I nodded, but inside I was shaken. It was just a glass, but it felt like more than that. It felt like a warning. A few weeks later, my grandson Jacob came to visit. He's 16 now, tall and strong, always full of energy. "Grandpa," he said, sticking out his hand, "let's see if you still got it." He wanted to arm wrestle like we used to when he was little. I laughed, took his hand, and the moment we locked grips, I knew my strength wasn't what it once was. I felt his fingers tighten, and I struggled to push back. He won easily, Jacob grinned, but I saw something else in his eyes. Concern, maybe even a little pity. That was what stung the most. I sat there for a long time after he left, staring at my hands. These hands had held wrenches, lifted lumber, and carried my children. And now? Now they could barely hold their own against a teenage boy. That night I made a decision. I wasn't going to let my strength slip away without a fight. I started small, squeezing a tennis ball while I watched the news, stretching my fingers, gripping and releasing. It felt foolish at first, but I kept going. Then I bought a set of hand grippers. At first I could barely close them, but I worked at it every day. I started carrying heavier grocery bags, turning doorknobs with purpose instead of hesitation. Months passed, and slowly my grip returned. It wasn't the strength of my youth, but it was enough. Enough to feel capable again. Enough to remind myself that just because time takes, doesn't mean we have to give up everything willingly. The next time Jacob came over, he stuck out his hand. I gripped it firmly. His eyebrows shot up. "Whoa, Grandpa, you been working out?" I just smiled. So, my friends, I ask you, have you noticed your grip weakening? Have you struggled to open jars, to hold on to the little things that once felt effortless? If so, don't ignore it. Your grip is more than just strength. It's your independence, your ability to hold on to the things that matter, and it's never too late to rebuild it. Tell me, have you ever had a moment like mine? Let's talk about it, because life is meant to be held onto with both hands. Sign 3. Your ability to stand on one leg. The Cherokee have an old saying, "When the roots are deep, there is no reason to fear the wind." Strength, stability, balance, these are not just physical traits, but the foundation upon which a person stands, both in body and in spirit. In youth, we never think about it. We run, jump, and move with ease, unaware that one day our balance may begin to falter. But as the years pass, we come to understand that balance is not guaranteed. It must be maintained, or we risk losing more than just our footing. I learned this lesson in a way I never expected. My name is Martha, and I am 79 years old. I spent most of my life confident on my feet. I was never an athlete, but I took pride in moving with purpose, walking briskly through the market, climbing stairs without a second thought, standing in my garden for hours, tending to the roses my late husband planted. But things changed. It started small, little missteps, a wobble when I turned too quickly, a brief unsteadiness when I bent to pick something up. Just getting older, I told myself. Then one day it wasn't small. I was reaching for a cup on the top shelf when I lost my footing. It was so sudden, so unexpected. One moment I was reaching up and the next I was on the floor, pain radiating through my hip. I was lucky. No broken bones, just bruises and a sore pride. But something in me changed that day. I had always thought of balance as something natural, something that just was. I never realized it was something I could lose. My doctor told me, "Martha, balance is like anything else. If you don't work on it, it fades." That stuck with me. So I started small, standing on one leg while brushing my teeth, walking heel to toe across the living room, holding onto the kitchen counter and rising onto my toes. Some days I felt foolish, but then I'd remember that fall, the way the floor rushed up to meet me. I refused to let that be my future. A year later, my grandson dared me to try a silly game, standing on one leg for 10 seconds. I laughed, but gave it a try. I held my balance steady, and he clapped. "Grandma, you're like a flamingo." I may not be a bird, but I am steady, and that's enough. So tell me, my friends, have you ever noticed yourself feeling just a little less sure on your feet? Do you take your balance for granted as I once did? If so, take a moment to think about it. Share your story and let's talk. Because staying steady in life is about more than just standing still. It's about standing strong. Sign 4. Your sleeping patterns. The great Benjamin Franklin once said, "Early to bed and early to rise makes a man healthy, wealthy, and wise." People used to believe in the rhythm of nature, rising with the sun, resting when it set. In those days, sleep wasn't just a necessity, it was a sacred ritual. Our ancestors didn't stare at glowing screens late into the night or push through exhaustion with endless cups of coffee. They understood that sleep was a time for renewal, a gift that allowed the body and mind to reset. Yet today we treat sleep as an afterthought, something we can sacrifice without consequence. But trust me, the price of lost sleep always comes due. I learned this lesson after years of ignoring it. My name is Walter and I'm 77 years old. I spent most of my life believing sleep was something for the lazy. I worked long hours, prided myself on staying up late, always thinking, always planning. Even after retirement, I kept that habit. The TV was my companion at night, flickering in the dark as I tried to doze off. But sleep never came easily. I'd wake up at 2 in the morning, staring at the ceiling, feeling restless but exhausted at the same time. At first I shrugged it off. A bad night here, a bad night there, what did it matter? But then, the fog set in. My memory, once sharp as a tack, began slipping. My patience ran thin. I found myself irritated at the smallest things. My body ached more, my energy drained faster, and my doctor warned me my blood pressure was creeping up. "You need to start sleeping, Walter," he told me, but I scoffed. How could I sleep when my mind refused to rest? Then came the night I truly scared myself. I was driving home from my daughter's house, just a short trip, nothing complicated. But as I sat at a red light, I felt my eyes droop, just for a second. The honking behind me jolted me awake. That was my wake-up call. I pulled over and sat there, gripping the wheel, realizing how fragile everything had become. My stubbornness was making me weak. The next morning I did something I hadn't done in decades. I turned off the TV before bed. I sat quietly with a book, let my body settle, and when I lay down, I kept the room cool and dark. It took time, but eventually my sleep returned. And with it, so did my clarity, my strength, and my sense of control over my own body. So tell me, my friends, how do you sleep these days? Do you wake up refreshed, or are you carrying the weight of restless nights? If sleep has become a struggle for you, I understand. But don't ignore it. Your body is telling you something. Share your thoughts with me. Let's talk about it. Because the way we sleep determines how we live. Sign 5. Your appetite and eating habits. Hippocrates, the father of medicine, once said, "Let food be thy medicine, and medicine be thy food." In the past, people understood that eating well wasn't just about filling the stomach, it was about nourishing the body and soul. Our ancestors took time to prepare meals, to gather at the table, to enjoy the simple act of breaking bread together. But in today's world, food has become an afterthought, a chore rather than a joy. Some people stop eating well out of loneliness, others out of habit, and before they know it, they've weakened themselves without even realizing it. I never thought much about my appetite until I lost it. My name is Helen, and I'm 80 years old. I used to love cooking. I remember when my kitchen was always warm, filled with the smell of fresh bread or a pot of soup bubbling on the stove. My husband Jack and I had a tradition. Every Sunday we'd cook a big meal together, laughing as we chopped vegetables or debated over how much seasoning was too much seasoning. But after he passed, the kitchen became silent. At first I still cooked, making portions far too big for one person. Then I started making less. Eventually, I stopped cooking altogether. Eating alone never felt right. A sandwich here, a bowl of soup there, it was enough, wasn't it? But over time I noticed small changes. My clothes got looser, my hands felt weaker, and I had no energy. I told myself it was just aging. That's what happens, right? But my daughter Emily saw it differently. "Mom, you're not eating enough," she said one afternoon, watching as I picked at my plate. "You used to love food." I shrugged. "I'm just not hungry." But the truth was, I had lost the joy in eating, and with it I was losing my strength. Emily had an idea. "Come cook with me," she said. I hesitated, but eventually I agreed. That night we made one of Jack's favorite dishes, chicken pot pie. The moment I smelled the buttery crust and the herbs simmering in the broth, something inside me stirred. I took a bite, and for the first time in a long while, I really tasted my food. Since then, I've made an effort. I eat with friends, try new recipes, and remind myself that food is more than just fuel, it's life. So tell me, my friends, have you lost your appetite for food, for joy, for life? If so, don't ignore it. Let's talk about it. Share your thoughts with me, because a shared meal is always better than an empty table. Sign 6. Your ability to handle stress. There's an old proverb that says, "Worry is like a rocking chair. It gives you something to do, but it gets you nowhere." Our ancestors understood that stress, if left unchecked, can be more dangerous than disease. The Native Americans believed that the mind and body must remain in harmony, that carrying burdens too heavy for the soul would make the body sick. Yet in today's world we've come to accept stress as a normal part of life, allowing it to weigh us down, wear us out, and steal the years we still have left. I know this because I once let it steal from me. My name is Arthur and I'm 84 years old. I spent most of my life worrying about work, about money, about whether I was doing enough, being enough. I worked hard and built a good life, but I never let myself enjoy it. I'd wake up thinking about the bills, about the things that could go wrong, about all the responsibilities on my shoulders. Even when there was nothing to worry about, I'd find something. My wife, Margaret, used to tell me, "Arthur, you're carrying a bag of bricks that no one asked you to carry." I'd brush her off, but deep down, I knew she was right. Then one day my body decided it had enough. It started with tightness in my chest, nothing too serious, but then came the dizziness, the shortness of breath. I was rushed to the hospital with what I thought was a heart attack. But after all the tests, the doctor sat me down and said, "Arthur, your heart's fine, but your stress is killing you." I laughed, but there was no humor in it. How could something as simple as worry do this? That night in the hospital I had time to think. I realized I had spent a lifetime preparing for problems that never came, trading peace for anxiety. What had I gained? Nothing but exhaustion. So I made a choice. I started walking more, breathing deeper, letting go of things I couldn't control. I laughed more, even when there wasn't a reason. Margaret said she saw the change in me. "You're finally putting down the bricks," she smiled. So my friends, tell me, are you carrying your own bag of bricks? Do you lie awake at night with thoughts that serve no purpose? If so, let's talk. Life is too short to spend it worrying about things that may never happen. Let's learn to put the bricks down together. Sign 7. Your social connections. There is an old saying from the Amish, "A joy shared is a joy doubled. A sorrow shared is a sorrow halved." In the past, people lived in tight-knit communities where no one ate alone, no one suffered in silence, and no one grew old without a hand to hold. They understood that human connection was not just about comfort, it was about survival. But in today's world, loneliness creeps into the spaces where communities once thrived. Too many people age in solitude, believing they are forgotten, not realizing that reaching out is just as important as being reached for. I know this because I nearly let myself disappear. My name is Ruth, and I am 81 years old. I was never the type to be alone. I loved people, loved the chatter of a full house, the warmth of laughter around a dinner table. But life has a way of taking pieces of you. Little by little. My husband passed first, then my best friend moved to be with her children. The phone calls slowed, the visits became fewer, and before I knew it, the silence in my home became deafening. At first, I convinced myself that I was fine. I told myself that solitude was just part of getting older. I spent my days watching television, reading books, and keeping to myself. But then something strange happened. I started feeling exhausted all the time, even though I did nothing. My body ached, and my mind felt sluggish. It wasn't until I saw my reflection one day, staring back at me with tired, hollow eyes, that I realized the truth. I wasn't just aging, I was fading. Then, one afternoon, I got a call from an old church friend. "Ruth," she said, "we haven't seen you in a while. Come to the potluck this Sunday." I hesitated, almost said no, but something in me, perhaps the part that still remembered what joy felt like, said yes. That Sunday I walked into a room full of familiar faces, people who had missed me, who still cared. We shared food, stories, and laughter, and I felt something I hadn't in a long time. I felt alive. That was the day I decided I would never let myself disappear again. So tell me, my friends, have you been withdrawing from the world? Do you tell yourself it's easier to be alone? If so, I understand. But please, reach out. Call an old friend, say yes to an invitation, step into the sunlight of human connection, because life is not meant to be lived in solitude. Let's talk about it. After all, no one should feel alone in a world so full of people. So now you know, your body is always speaking to you, quietly revealing how well it's aging and how much time you may have left. These 7 signs aren't just random observations. They are powerful indicators backed by science, showing us the difference between simply growing older and truly living longer. But here's the good news: no matter where you stand today, change is always possible. A stronger grip, steadier steps, deeper sleep, better habits, small choices made now can shape the years ahead. The question is, what will you do with this knowledge? Take a moment to reflect. Have you noticed any of these signs in yourself? Are there changes you've been meaning to make but keep putting off? I'd love to hear your thoughts. Share your experiences in the comments below. Your story may inspire someone else to take action, just as theirs might inspire you. And if you found value in this, consider subscribing. Together we can continue learning, growing, and making the most of the time we have. Thank you for watching, and remember, your future health starts with the choices you make today.